Welcome to Cheques Play, the best casino podcast. Let's do it.
So I'm sitting in an office at Bally's with my pal Eddie Pinto. I don't know if you remember Eddie Pinto. And me and Eddie Pinto were sitting in this office making calls and running a whole host program and putting together the PD department for Paris and Bally's. And there was a safe in the room, in the wall, a big giant bank, like a movie safe, locked. One day, it was open a crack, and me and Eddie went in there. The original sign-in book burnt around the edges from the fire of the opening of the MGM Grand. Cary Grant,
Wow.
Korean, Debbie Reynolds, Frank, you name the signatures that were in this book in the safe. My partner, Eddie Pinto, used to have Field of Dreams. He opened the first Field of Dreams, so he was big in memorabilia.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to steal that book, and I talked him out of it. I'm like, Eddie, there's cameras everywhere. You cannot steal this book.
You think that it's in the mob museum or something somewhere?
That's a great question, Bruce. That's a great question. What happened to that book? There were a lot of memorabilia in that safe. There was the bill of sale when they bought the property in Tahoe or Reno. There was the most unique. All the movies Kokorian used to watch. I don't know if people know this, but he loved general army movies. He had them all on VHS, all the wars and all the generals. There were all the entire score to Jubilee was in there, and all the shows. Mm-hmm. That's how it was left open. Joel left it open. So about an hour later, Joel came back and said, "Did I leave that open?" And we, Eddie and I were just, the things that we saw in that safe were remarkable.
Yeah, Jubilee was the name of the show.
Yesterday, when we were speaking with Bruce, I was asking him some questions about, so what player developers are doing, how the casino hosts are doing, and etc. I asked about those invitings and how do you invite the guests to play. And I was surprised when Bruce told me yesterday that yes, you can give those things to them, but it's not obvious that they will play, so they might never come into your casino once they will come. So they might ask you, order me, I don't know, a jet or like wherever, and then they might never come. So I mean,
well, I'll tell you what, they will come. It's, you said it a minute ago though, it's getting them to play. When in these small markets that I go, in these markets, how to speak to a player, and they'll say, "We're allowed to say that?" Oh, if they knew what Bruce and I said to players, right? Mm-hmm. If they only, their heads would spin, right? Mm-hmm. We were direct and honest and transparent, but have to have the conversation that nothing's free. I mean, obviously, you have to gamble for this. And a host, I also teach this. A lot of GMs will call me and they'll say, "Could you come train the host?" And I'll say, "Well, what do you got going on?" Because I customize every one of my training. And I say, "What do you got going on?" And the GM will say, "They just need to know how to say no." And I say, "Wrong guy." Mm-hmm. A host never says no. A host never says no. Hell, Bruce said it earlier. It's a balance. You're a broker between making the company happy, making the right decision for the company, and saying yes to the guest. It's finding the yes. It's finding a way to say yes. And I mean, I've had small players say, tiny players say, "I want this, I want that." I say to them, "You want a helicopter? You want a jet? You want a penthouse?" They go, "Yeah." Now I got them on my side, right? Now I say, "Well, here's how you have to play." And they'll be honest. "Oh, I can't play like that. I don't have that kind of budget. I don't have that kind." Okay, then let's go back to the coffee shop and let's go back to the Uber instead of the limo. Yeah. But you never say no.
You didn't say no. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you wanted this, but what I can do for you is this. That's what we call words that work and words that don't work.
Correct.
You don't use word can't.
No.
Oh, no. I feel for you. And
any sales will say can. You don't say can't. You don't say maybe. You don't say perhaps. Yeah. You work for that player. You're protecting the property. You're making the right comp decision. And not only that, a host these days has to explain the decision they made. CFOs, CEOs, they don't have time. They don't talk to players. They don't look at individual players. They look at the department on a whole. So you have to be ready to explain to your boss, your leadership, why you made that decision and why it was a good decision.
It's super important role. I mean, this casino host, as
Absolutely.
yesterday, I still didn't know who is this person, but now when I realize, like, it's crucial role.
It's crucial if they're doing it properly. If they're just maintenance, they really don't need them. It's crucial if it's done with all the components that need to be done.
This is the role, in fact, right, of the host. So they come back. Not only they spend money, but so they come back.
They're going to spend money. They're gamblers. So they're going to spend money on anything, online, on game. I tell hosts, get that out of your head. The job of the host is to keep them out of the competitor. The market is oversaturated right now. And that's why online gaming is gonna blow up in the next few years. It's gonna put brick and mortar out of business. Not only is brick and mortar not paying attention to crucial things like customer service and the customer experience, which I also teach and I also train, but too much. There's a big lack of customer experience and customer service, quality and excellent customer service and customer experience on a brick and mortar that online gaming is going to take over. But the other aspect is what you just mentioned. Correct.
Casinos really need you to train their people. Hosts from a different culture, they need training. If
they've not been around it for many, many years, like a Henry Paisano or an they absolutely. I've had people sit in my training, and one of the best testimonials I get is when they say, "Hey, man, I've been in the business 20 years, and I got more out of your training than any other training out there or a conference out there." And don't get me wrong, the 20-year host or the 25-year host, they come into my seminar, body language is closed up, they're defensive. Oh, this guy's going to teach me how to be a casino host. No, I'm not. I'm going to give you all the techniques, though, and all the skills and all the tricks to incorporate sales into your maintenance program. And it's just the market is oversaturated. There are casinos. Competition is on top of each other.
But Vegas isn't going away. I mean, they were up 17% over the previous year in revenues. I mean, I think they did like 8.2 billion in revenue or something down on the strip, 7 billion the previous year. So
the only thing that changed in Vegas since my day, is they make more money on the pool and the gift shop and the nightclubs and the retail.
Non-gaming. Yep.
Unheard of in my day, right? So don't get that convoluted. I know they post their numbers and they're, I always joke around on LinkedIn, and when somebody posts about Vegas, I go, "Oh, is Vegas still open? Is Vegas still going?"
Yeah.
The market in Vegas has changed drastically, especially comping these high rollers. I get $1 million players calling me from Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, saying things like, "I can't get a robe, I can't get Cristal, I can't get anybody on the phone, I can't get a butler to bring my keys, I couldn't get a suite. They want to charge me this." They're questioning. I lost hundreds of thousands. They're questioning that. It's not funny. When players and vice presidents of PD call me, there's a struggle in PD on the strip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Kasi, another thing, and that's what he just said. I'm going to say it a different way. Non-gaming means not on the slot machine and not in tables, which it was built off of that billions of years ago before you and I were born. So, but now it's the clubs, the restaurants, it's the bars, it's the retail shopping and so forth and so on. But another thing, Kasi, when you asked about those players that want those amenities, those high rollers, they want a jet, they want the show tickets and everything before they played. If they have no history, we'll make a deal. And that's what we call them, deals. We'll make a deal with you. But if you want a credit line and so forth, we might ask you, or not we might, but we will. The smart operators will say, you put up cash, we'll give you 5 million line. Or you put up half, we put up half, whatever. We'll give you the deal, and we'll comp you the jet and everything, but it's still going to be based off of your play. We're going to charge your credit card or whatever. And so if you don't play, you're going to pay for it. But if you do play, you have what we call front money because you made a deposit of 5 million or whatever. So when you draw a marker, it's going to come out of your money first before it comes out of your credit line. And then based off your Theo, and your Theo is pretty much 25% of whatever you're really worth. If you're $1 million player, you're going to have a $250,000 Theo or something like that. So based off of your Theo, so those big players, especially when they go to events, if they go to a tournament, because you have players that play only to play for a tournament, whatever, they travel all over the world to go to a tournament, and they're playing for Theo, because some of those Theos may have an incentive. You get what we call fast tracked into a semifinal round, or you get fast tracked into the final round. You don't have to play the preliminary rounds. It might be a criteria where the highest Theo gets into the semifinal or the final round, or the highest loss. So they're constantly playing. They're playing Theo, which is smart on both sides, smart on the casino side and the player side. So they play, and now they have earned the Theo. Then we'll go ahead and comp them those amenities based off of their play percentage.
A lot has changed over the years, and I'll tell you the one thing that's happening in the early 90s, Kent Donathan and Jim Bradshaw, who passed away, sadly. Kent and Jim taught me that when a player says, yeah, give me $100,000 line of credit, that what I say to them is, let me ask you a question. If you lost 100,000, you're going to put a gun to your head? And when the guy says, yeah, I don't want to lose 100,000, then he's not a $100,000 player. Mm-hmm. So over the years, this younger generation has learned to call a host in Vegas and go, yeah, I want a $100,000 credit line, and I want a suite and the thing. But hosts are savvy to that now. Just because if you have no play history, right? I don't know how you gamble. You've never gambled at my property. Maybe I can call around to Henry and Al, and I could say, hey, you know this guy? But if you have no history and you want a $100,000 line, I'm not comping you. You'll get a regular room, because hosts are savvy to that. They know that the players have learned over the years that if they have a $100,000 line, they're only going to lose $5,000, mm-hmm. right? But they have a $100,000 credit line. Well, I think over the years, hosts have gotten savvy to that and said, oh no, you're not getting, that's, you got to play. You got to show me play. There's still some real good seasoned hosts. Debbie Otto being one, and she's a vice president at Harris. She's very seasoned. She's very slick. You couldn't pull the wool over her eyes if she was drugged and asleep.
Yep,
you know what I mean?
Like Miguel Moore the same way. I learned a lot from Miguel.
Same way. Yep, yeah. Same. And we live and learn. We've done that. We've comped the people who came in and gave them a jet and they didn't play, and we got fired or yelled at, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Nick, I'm interested, to hear a little bit more about, because you have such huge experience in player development. What's your thoughts about the changes in this field, and the future, where it's going, what will change comparing to what was before?
So, well, we touched on it, and people get a little defensive with me. But again, Al DeLeon always says about me, I don't spit venom for no reason, right? A snake saves their venom for the right time, right? And I spit venom because I want the conversation to be talked about. There's too many things that we sweep under the rug, and we go, yeah, well, whatever, and we go home. So am I being a little exaggerating in my thoughts? I am, but do I truly believe that online gaming is going to take over? I truly believe it. I believe that brick and mortar are building on top of each other. They are building on top of each other. So what does that mean? That means the Starbucks that was all alone on the corner used to get 100,000 guests a month. Now a Starbucks opens across the street. Now we're only getting 50,000 of revenue. It's common. But one thing casinos don't do, they don't compare themselves to some of the most popular brands, and that's out there. And why not? They're Amazon, Starbucks, Disney, Home Depot, very successful, right? So I think with the oversaturated, look, there's a casino opening in Chicago next. Chicago. Mm-hmm. There's going to be one in New York. The Meadowlands in New Jersey.
More than one in New York. It's been about 3 or 4. Yeah. And it's more than one. And that's going to dig into Atlantic City, probably about 20-30%.
Bruce, Atlantic City done. Once the Meadowlands gets gaming and New York gets all this that's it. Sorry, guys. I love you. You're my heart. I broke my teeth there. I love you guys, but there's only going to be the Borgata and maybe the Showboat standing, after the atomic war. But I truly think that with the oversaturation of the market, the older generation dying, Casilla, right? The older generation, me and Bruce will be dead soon, right? And this younger gambler, he can sit on so here's what hosts are saying to me. Here's what people are saying.
Right on their phone.
Right. And here's what people are saying to me. Well, you can't get the live, you can't get the social experience. Yes, you can. I could be on my phone gambling on the same blackjack table that Bruce is gambling on in Punta Cana, and I'm gambling on it in Vegas, and I'm binge watching my show on Netflix. I'm Uber eating my delicious meal, and Bruce and I are texting each other, dude, you're just ruined that hand. Don't split those aces. Don't do right. So don't tell me there's no social interaction on an online gaming. You got to be kidding me.
Absolutely.
Right?
2-3 years, AI is going to take over everything.
You got the oversaturation of market. You have the fact that online does provide a social interaction. You have younger generation that live on their phones, do everything on their phones. And then you have brick and mortar that have oversaturated the market. And not for nothing, I don't know how long CFOs are going to cry COVID with staffing. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. You don't want to open the coffee shop because you're saving money and you're making your bonus. COVID's gone. There's no staffing issues. But you go to these brick and mortars and customer service is horrendous. That's why I have a passion to teach it. It's horrendous, the customer service. The food is terrible. You got bums trying to steal your Tito ticket. You got people smoking in your face if you're a non-smoker. And if you're a smoker, you got a non-smoking casino. What is that all about? I could stay home and experience all of this. So everyone keeps saying, oh, well, you can't feel the live cards. There's no, I get that. I'm not arguing live touch with online, but online has so much more security, so much more comfort, so much more of what brick and mortar is not paying attention.
Safety. And you can't miss what you never had. If people never really, if they've never experienced the brick and mortar, shit. My granddaughter's never been brick and mortar, but as she grows up, she's on that online and doing everything on her iPad and everything, and she starts gambling, and God forbid, the heck, she don't even know anything about the casino or what happens and smoking, all the smoke and stuff going on there. That's a big deal now anyway, too. Smoking in the public and the casinos.
Right. I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. But do I think you should smoke in a casino? Yeah, you should curse, drink, and smoke and spit in a casino. And Bruce, you had my mentor, my number one mentor in my not only work, not only business, but emotional, physical, growing up. My mentor is Joe Jimenez.
Oh.
And right? Cassia, listen to that podcast. He will tell you about online gaming. He will tell you all about it. He's got his finger on the pulse, and he is beyond my mentor.
Unbelievable. Joe Jimenez is just, he's so dialed in. And the fact is, it's not like, and no offense to him, he's not a young guy. And he's right there. No, because we talked about that. We spoke about it. And because he says he's dialed in about learning from the smartest guys, and they're young, and they dial him into it.
Yes.
And so I'm glad that you mentioned Joe. I'm glad because I just met him doing the podcast, and I feel like I've known him all my life. I've heard his name all my years.
So I was his roommate in Atlantic City. I was in food and beverage, and we shared a condo with a wonderful gentleman who passed away. And one day I said to Joe, "What do you do for work? What do you do for a living?" And he said, "Come in the kitchen." And he made me a cup of coffee, give me a cup of cappuccino. And he explained and he goes, "You'd be great at it. You'd be amazing at it." Right. And within weeks, Nick Niglio, Richard Slack, Mark Giuliano, John Groom asked me to be a casino host. So when I tell you, I know Joe Jimenez for a long time. He's raised me like a little brother.
He recruited Miguel Mora and developed him from operations.
And the one thing that was mentioned was knowing when to speak, how to talk, how to have swag, and I teach that. So I teach a lot of floor as well, not floor table. I teach player development floor. And that means, Cassia, like ambassadors, people that just on the floor, and they are signing people up for a new card, or they're saying to people, well, they don't say this until I train them, but they say to people, where else do you gamble and how often do you gamble? Is this your first time here? And has a host been in touch with you? So it's that first touch. It's that ambassador on the floor. And I've worked with them. And just recently I was in Colorado and I was working with the young lady there, and she was wonderful. And she knew all the players, all the players came to see her, and she wasn't a host, but she was, sectioned on the floor, stationed on the floor. And she said to me, tell me about, how long to talk to somebody and how much to talk to somebody and how much. And I said, in my customer service class, I teach, be interested, not interesting. The moment you start being interesting, you've overstayed your welcome. She loved it. She loved it. She goes, in other words, there's a man here who always tells me about his knee surgery while he's gambling. And he goes on and on about the knee surgery. She goes, and I can relate because I had knee surgery. I said, okay. She goes, but the minute I start going, well, my knee surgery, I go, there you go. You've overstayed your welcome. Let him gamble. Let him play, right? You got to remember, the more we talk to somebody, the more we're affecting negatively the drop and the revenue. So my trick is when you start talking about yourself, you've overstayed your welcome. My players really knew nothing about me. They had to pull teeth. My child, my son, my interest in music, my hobbies, they had to pull teeth. I would talk about them. Yeah. It's a great sales trick, and it's a great hospitality trick. It's a great concierge trick. You've overstayed your welcome.
I have to learn that with the podcast. So, Nick, what else would you like to leave us with before we have to say adios and bon voyage until the next time? Because I know that we're going to be talking again soon, because I have enjoyed this day so much. I mean, and especially when you mentioned Al de Leon. So, but what else would you like to leave us with? So you have a website?
Yeah, so I have a website, nickippolito.com. And all the information is on there needed. But of course, I customize all my, I go to your budget. I go through your what you need, your needs for hosting, right? Wherever you feel they're lacking or they need. Again, I'm the only one that does the one-on-ones and the coaching and the calling. I'm extremely busy. I'm in a different casino every week. And there are certain times, Potawatomi in Milwaukee, I was there for 90 days. Dominic had me for 90 days. Wow. And he had me. So sometimes I'm at a property for 90 days. I believe I'm talking about it with Lou in Washington, and Robbins had me at Black Oak. And I'll once or twice a year, I might be on for 90 days, and I'll like audit, not financially audit, but audit all your procedures and your job descriptions and your interviewing, and really take a close look at your player development department. And my company also offers database analysis, where we just drill down on your database to make sure your points spread is right, your tiers are correct, your direct mail is correct, your free play is correct. I do a lot of that. I work a lot with table games because a lot of these hosts have never, ever worked in table games or even know where to begin. They're very intimidated to go to table games and to cut into not only the player, but to cut into the table games guy, right? It's a very intimidating experience to go talk to table games. So I teach a lot and I coach a lot on the table game experience with PD. All things PD with me. It always comes down to PD. But that's what I do. And then every now and then, I speak at OIGA or Richard Marcus or a convention or something. Yep. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to ask Nick if there is a question.
I'll answer you, Cassia. I'm a Leo. I'm single. I like long walks on the beach. Oh, no, that's not what you were going to ask me. Sorry. I thought that's what you...
Yeah, no, but what I wanted to ask was if there is any question that people ask you all over again, and you're tired of this question. So you can answer this question now.
No, there really isn't. There really isn't. I love it. I welcome it. I appreciate it. Again, after I've left the property and even after they're done paying me, I welcome them to call me, text me. Hosts do it all the time. Hosts will call me about players. They'll show me text messages. What do I say to this guy next? You think this guy's BSing me? Do you know this player? Management will call me all the time. So there's really not a question. I'm trying to think if there's a good answer to that. I don't think there's a question that I'm sick of. The number one question I get, the first hosts are questioning whether they should answer their phone off duty. And I tell them my only answer is be different than Jessica at the front desk. Right. And then the other questions I get the most of is what CRM program we should be using and a bonus program. Hosts having an incentive and a bonus program with hosting. Those seem to be the number one. Again, I know what you were talking about, a question I get sick of, but there's really not. it's more of the consistency in what casinos are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And what's a CRM, Nick? We never did say.
Sure,
I know what it is, but
yeah, a CRM stands for customer relationship management program. So it's an app, right? It's a software, and there's many out there to see which one fits you the best. I love optics, and it's no secret. People know I'm a big optics fan. They don't pay me, and there's no percentage, but optics, I'm a big optics fan. There's PlayerSoft, has a great tool. There's Scout, there's Nation, there's I'm going to miss them, and they're going to get mad at me. There's Viz, there's QCI, there's gaming analytics. There's so many. I'm sorry, I know I butchered a few of you. I'm sorry, but you know who you are. And there's so many out there that helps the host manage their database, manage their contact information, manage their call tasking, manage their reporting. It helps leadership get reports on, am I trending? It's all sales. You got to have sales, right? So they have reports on, hey, Bruce, you're doing good this month. You're going to make your quota. Hey, Nick, you're not doing so well this month. How are you going to make your quota? So a CRM program really helps you define, tighten up, and control, and have accountability on any sales team. It doesn't have to be a casino host team, on any sales team. So there are a lot of great ones out there. I will caution them that I work with your tool. I work with all of your tools constantly. And, the technical part would be when hosts say to me, it's not working. We can't get a hold of somebody. I'm tempted to start calling you guys out on LinkedIn. I really am, but I understand that technology changes constantly, and we have to keep up on it. But those CRM is a great thing. Great. We forgot Craig, right? Craig has a great one. Trios, fantastic, phenomenal software. And when casinos say to me, which one do I recommend? I go, all of them. You have to have one. If you have nothing, you're using Excel still, you're not in the game, right? So pick one, please pick one, and go with it, and grow with it, and give that tool to your host.
Yeah, because you can always transition and grow into something else. So.
Correct.
Man, that's great. That's great, Nick. Thanks so much. We really appreciate it, man. I tell you what, I hope that we did what you expected or met your expectations as far as a podcast. Like I said, we're learning and growing still, and
absolutely, a lot of fun, a lot of authenticity in the questions. You didn't just, you're not just going through the motions. Even your questions, Bruce, you've been in the business as long as I am, and a lot of authenticity behind your questions. But of course, Cassia, the beautiful, charming Cassia, she's never been in the business, so absolutely her questions are authentic. So, and again, and even if you're in the business, a lot of hosts need to hear this. And there's the number one email I get are people who are not hosts that say, how do I be a host? How do I be a host? I'll tell you the question I'm sick of, Cassie. I thought of it. It's host in America and in these smaller markets. Email me and go, how can I be a host in Vegas? I'm sick of because I always say to them, you don't want to. And they'll tell you, they'll attest to this. My first answer to them is, you don't want to.
You're swimming with the sharks.
You don't want to. You have it made where you are. You have comfort. You know your city. You know your boss. You're allowed to leave early. You're allowed to do this. Your boss takes care of you and nurtures you. You don't get that in Vegas. Vegas is high pressure. You can book $1 million player tomorrow, and the next day they're asking you who's next, or when that guy's coming back, or when is he paying back the $1 million. It's a thankless job, in Vegas.
And they're gonna and your boss is gonna snatch them from you.
Or the guy next to you. Or the guy. Thank you so much, both of you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was long overdue, Bruce, and let's do a part 2 as soon as we can.
Cool, man. Thanks so much, Nick. Listen,
thank you so much, Nick.
take care, Nick. We'll see
Great
you,
to
man.
meet you.
Keep doing your thing. You'll hear from us real soon. We love you. Cheques play.
Bye bye.